Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Creatives. I am your host, James Glover, and on today's episode, we have family in the building. Aria Smith is one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life. Also, probably one of the only creatives that I've known most of my life. We started swimming, I would say maybe about 10 years ago together. We met at our summer swim pool, and then we ultimately started swimming club all throughout high school and I think most of middle school. So Aria has been in my life for a very long time, and it was only right to have her on this podcast. She has become so many different things as a creative and as a person, and it's just been so cool to see her grow in this amount of time that I've known her. And she started out painting and made some beautiful work, and then in high school worked up to doing some installation art, which I was fortunate enough to see firsthand. And now she has kind of been moving in the space of tech and art, as well as making her own clothes and sewing. And we have done some collaborations together, some photo shoots, and it has just been a really fun relationship to have her in my life and kind of see us grow together as creatives. So it was only right to have her on the pod. We kind of talk about a lot of things that are going on in her life right now. She is a senior at Brandeis University, and she is putting on she's creating a senior show all about being a Black woman in a predominantly white institution, as well as being a Black woman in a predominantly white sport, which is swimming. We really dive deep into why it's so important to have these conversations, as well as some really, really cool projects that she's been working on, and her new job at the Smithsonian coming up very soon. I hope you all enjoy. Aria is one of my favorite people on this earth, so it was just fun for me to talk to her and catch up. So I hope you all enjoy. This episode was super fun. And if you aren't already added to the Patreon is $4 a month. The link is in the description below. If you are loving the podcast and want early access to episodes, that's the place for you. If you want to talk about the episode and how much you loved it or what you want to see different in it, that is the place to voice your opinion, and kind of talk to the community that's already around this podcast and really, really get involved more. And I would really appreciate your support. So on that note, enjoy the pod, and I'll see you all at the end. Bye. Welcome, Aria Smith. How are you?
I'm good. Doing good.
Good.
It's a beautiful day out. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just enjoying life right now. I'm excited to talk to you. So Aria has done many different things in the creative realm that we'll tap into, that I'm really excited to get into. But first, it's going to start off of where you're at in life, what you're doing, and go from there.
Yeah, so I am currently a senior at Brandeis University, and I am double majoring in studio art and computer science. Very two like different subjects like that I'm combining together, which is a really interesting thing. And then I'm on the Brandeis Swim and Dives team as well. And along with being a studio art major, I'm also a university director representative for the studio art department as well. And I'll definitely get into that more as we continue talking. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool. Awesome. I guess we should let's start off where you're at now, and then we'll take it a little bit back, and then we'll bring it to what you're going to do in the future. So in your studio art program and your computer science program, what do you do creatively that like fuels your fire? Like, what is something in studio art that you've been doing now that has really been fun for you?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question because it's definitely evolved over the years. So I guess like for right now, I am in senior studio, which is something that is like the course of the whole senior year, where I got my own little cubicle. I actually got it yesterday, super exciting, with amazing lighting, and it's just like a studio space that I can use to create the pieces that I want for this upcoming year. And essentially, I'm supposed to just create this theme that I want to continue with and build upon for the end of the year exhibition. So as of right now, I'm definitely highlighting what it's like to be a Black woman, especially in a predominantly white swimming and just college environment, and showing that through canvas, because my I guess go-to medium would be oil painting. So
Okay.
I'm going to definitely be shedding light on that through oil paint. But then also I'm just thinking about how I could also bring life to that through installation pieces. So I'm definitely in the process of researching how I could maybe bring some of that to life. You know, maybe going in and shooting some things within water, maybe doing some videos, because I've taken some video editing classes as well, which was super fun. And then maybe having some type of projection of that vision that I have as well.
That's
So that's
awesome.
what I'm doing in the studio right now. But um, it's all been built upon because of the different classes that I've taken through the studio art department here. And I would say, like, even starting from freshman year, just gaining that connection with the different professors has been amazing, because they've connected like me with all these different artists.
That's awesome.
And I've been able to research and see what it is that I like style wise, but also just like the meaning behind it as well. And that I think has guided me and like given me the inspiration that I have for where I am today, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so yeah, I guess that's for like studio art
Yeah,
mainly.
no, that's perfect. And how do you man, there's so many good things to touch on there. So would you say Brandeis is like a predominantly white institution, like a PWI?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I'm just like so intrigued about how you're gonna like story tell and make art out of that. Have you previously made work about um being Black in a PWI, and especially in swimming? Swimming is like, Aria, for the listeners who don't know, Aria and I have started. We met on a swim team. Do we meet at Watermont? Is that how we got
Yes, we
into
met at
it?
Watermont.
Okay, so we met doing summer swim, and then we swam club together through all of high school. And as many people know, swimming is very predominantly white. And how, and that whole relationship, I'm sure, is going to be explored by you.
Yeah.
Have you done pieces in art like that before, or is this kind of the first time that you're discovering
So
that?
that's a great question, because actually I have. I did it in my senior year of high school. I kind of touched on it because my art teacher from senior year was like, I really want you to like bring out something that just really like, not only makes you feel like a certain way, but make others feel uncomfortable. And so I was like, make others feel uncomfortable. Like, that's an interesting way of putting things. So I just like thought about just past experiences or experiences that I have now. Um, and one that kept coming to mind was just my overall feelings towards something that's a big part of my life right now, which is swimming. And I've
Right.
continued to do that all the way up until now. And just seeing like you said, it being a predominantly white, sport, and how that affects someone who is a person of color in that kind of situation. So I did touch on that in some of my art pieces. I did one painting, and then I also did this, I would say it's like a half installation, half video art piece. It was really cool. I did a video underwater of me like swimming, and then I created these boxes, and they were almost like stepping stones of me swimming through them, almost like me trying to like gain the confidence like in the water, and how I have been like trying to reach this goal, but also things have been holding me back. And I kind of want to like really like challenge myself and build on that and see how I can like really make this something bigger and like better. Because I think that was just like the starting point for like my overall creative like thinking mindset, I guess, for where I want to go. And also just like I feel like it's not really touched on in the art world. Just like experiences like that, because whenever I talk to like my art professors about, how I'm a swimmer and stuff, they just always are like, a swimmer? We don't have athletes, like stuff like that. They're always like, what? Like,
Yeah, your intersectionality of art with swimming, and like there's so many intersections that you hold, which I think is super specific to you. But sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you
no, you're
off.
fine. Yeah, and like it's just always intrigued my professors, and they're like, please, like talk more about it, Aria, like continue. And I'm like, okay, like it seems like this is something that I could really get like somewhere far with.
Yeah.
And it's just basically talking about myself and my own experiences, which I honestly think with artists, it's the most special way of creating art is
Mhm.
through your own lens, because you're able to really touch on some things that maybe others wouldn't even understand or see.
Right.
And I think that's what I really want to do, is to make like people really think about things that they previously wouldn't think about, or if they've noticed, like now really see it like
Yeah.
in the forefront. Because
Yeah.
like you can think about a ton of stuff or a ton of ideas, but not really see it, you know, put together, or it makes sense to you until
Yeah.
someone else brings it up.
That's true. And if it's not your lived experience, it's much harder well, first of all, people should be getting as many experiences as they can through different types of medium and learning, but
Right.
it's just harder if that's not your experience. But that's great that you're an artist, that you can put your work out there and put your experiences out there. I think that's really cool. I'm really excited to see it. I remember
Yeah.
seeing your installation for your high school senior show, and that
Yes.
was awesome. Aria had like her own room, like
Hmm.
dedicated to it. It was really great. Did you feel like supported by your high school with art? Because I know a lot of high school's art is like kind of a back burner, but you like I remember seeing the exhibition, and it was so cool. You felt like supported?
I honestly feel like that was one of the most supportive times like I've
Cool.
had with art. And like I want to thank my school for that, because, you know, talking to some of my friends like in the studio art department, you know, they talked about how just, I don't know, brushed to the side the art department just was. And, you know, like some of them wanted to go to like, you know, a university that had a BFA, and Brandeis does not have a BFA, which I'm okay with, but some people definitely prefer the BFA just because it's just more artwork that you're producing on a regular basis compared to just like having a BA.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, just not really taking the time, you know, out for those who are interested in art. And so I'm just really thankful that my school really like put together this whole exhibition at the end of it. It was crazy. Like they had just
Crazy.
made this new building and like this new room dedicated for just the artists. And then I got like this separate room. It was crazy.
It was beautiful, and like seeing everyone's art together was just
It was
such
awesome.
a cool culmination of like your time there. I think that was
Yeah.
really special. Um, so jumping forward a little bit, did I want to get into this computer science slash art combo that you're working with here? Um, how have you seen? Well, I guess we should start first of all. Did you want to do both coming into college, computer science and art? And then how have they influenced each other so far?
Yeah. Okay. Great questions again, James.
I took my time, I wrote them down.
Yeah. So I guess starting off like with the whole, you know, going into college, did I really want to do computer science? The answer was no, I didn't. So just a little bit about, I guess, my family.
Yeah.
My mom, software engineer. So she's just fully within the computer science world, and she's constantly, you know, doing stuff like on that end and not really having that art background. She did paint, but it wasn't like, you know, having her own studio space. It
Right,
was more
right.
just like house painting for fun.
Yeah.
But I always saw her like doing her work, and it just seemed very serious and cut and dry and not artistic in any way. So I always like had a little bit of like a resentment towards it. I mean, in a light way. It wasn't like, oh, I hate this. It was just more
Right.
of like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to pursue it. I want something different. But then when I got here at Brandeis, um, you know, I think what really, you know, pushed me to want to continue with the major was the fact that my mom actually told me just take a Python class for fun, because it seems like you are interested because you keep asking me questions. Because I would ask her a lot of questions about it,
Oh.
not really understanding that I was actually interested in it.
Right. And
Um,
asking you to take a Python class for fun. Like, I don't know a lot of people that take Python for fun. Like,
yeah,
that's how I feel like you would know. Like,
that's how you would know
yeah.
exactly, because I was like, for fun. She was like, yes, take it for fun. and then talk to me about it later. So I was like, okay. So my freshman year, like first semester, I was plopped into like this 200 plus class with
Whoa.
all of these other people in it. And I liked it. I don't know. It was something that, it was the professor, and this professor is now actually my computer science advisor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's great, but it was just really nice because I felt like I was really in control of something that was not seen as less than. And I hate putting it that way, but with studio art and like fine arts, I think that there's this stigma that's put, along with it, like, oh, like if you're doing art, then you're not going to be doing well, that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Because
there's
the
a
money's
less,
attached to
there's always
the
money attached, right?
money is attached to how important something is. So like if you're not, yeah.
And I just would, even though I like art always has my heart, and like it is my first and like best like love for doing anything,
Yeah.
it's art. But I really liked the environment where people were pushing me and they saw something valuable, and they liked like seeing me accomplish something and something that they thought was valuable in like a work style, setting.
Right. It's a good
And
feeling.
it's a good
It's a
feeling.
good
And
feeling. Yeah.
that was like something I immediately got when I was in that Python class. Like everyone was like striving to do super well. And like I wouldn't say I'm like the most sciencey person, but I definitely like math, stuff like that. So it just came, really quick to me. And once I had finished that Python class, did well in it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a Java class and I'm just going to continue.
Wow.
So I just kept going. COVID kind of ruined some things though. Like I didn't get to do as many in-person things.
Right.
But once it was like after Python, I really pushed myself and I started taking other classes. And then that kind of like built this bridge into how I connected art and computer science together, because something cool that Brandeis offers is this class called 3D animation.
Cool.
And it was an amazing class that I took in my sophomore year. Amazing. I was like creating all of these different worlds. Like I would like sketch stuff out and then, translate that to like the computer, building stuff like on like the different programs that we were using
Did
during
you
that
use Blender?
time. Blender, yeah, and then
Blender.
Maya. Like these were some great tools. I still
Yeah.
use them now. It's so fun.
I love Blender. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like the environment in that as well, because there were a lot of creative arts students in that class. So I wasn't alone in that either. And then that's when I really understood that you can have both. You just have to have an open mind. It's not going to always just be on paper. It's not going to just be, you know, on like a big canvas or something. It's going to be through the screen, or it's going to be through a video, and how can you create that? And then I like took this video art class, which was also amazing. And it just like really opened my mind, and like just like how like my outlook on things was, and it I think was the driving point for me,
Yeah.
for how I wanted to continue forward. And I think that along with that, just the fact that there were other people that kind of had some similar things going on. It wasn't specifically like they were doing studio art and
Right.
computer science, but it was like maybe they were doing computer science and bio. Like, how do those things go together? Or like computer science and like business, like all of these different like majors, and like how they were combining them. And I think that kind of also gave me the inspiration to just push through that and see what I can do with that as well.
That's great. Ah,
Yeah.
I love that. And I think especially now with like the metaverse and whatever, which like is a
Yeah.
whole other thing, but I think the marrying of computer science and art is like so prevalent right now, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
What do you so besides this 3D the 3D modeling that you've been doing, have you been putting that work together in any other ways, or do you have like ideas for projects to kind of do? Yeah.
Yeah. So this past summer I actually took this class. And it was in I can't remember the specific name, but it was like web developing design kind of class.
Okay.
So I learned like a lot of different tools, and I learned how to actually just create my own web tool, and I'm not talking about a website. That's very different from like actually like what goes like from, the inside of
Right.
like creating tools and stuff. So I did that, and I created like this platform that essentially helped with artists creating portfolios, and how like
Cool.
files could be sent in, and then your resume could be connected to it, and then it was like a whole like page for that. And it was really interesting because like I have always wanted something like that, where like, because like how for a job, for example, you have someone asking for your portfolio, but they also want your resume, but
Right.
they also want photo references like of
Right.
other things and all of this other stuff. So I'm going from this file and that file, trying to find everything, and they're not all in the same place. But I was thinking, what if I created this tool that actually just kept everything for the artist right there? So it's called like this artist portfolio.
So
And
cool.
yeah, and you just upload everything to it, and this profile can be shared with other users as well. You all can connect like artist to artist and like talk about stuff. And so I was creating that over the summer, and I created like a GitHub and stuff. Like there was a lot of coding that was involved when like within this type of like work as well. So I definitely got that part, working as well. And it was very interesting to see how I can do both of these at the same time. It just might not have been how I imagined,
Yeah.
but is super helpful and can go far. And yeah, it was really cool. We used different tools as well. And I have like still been like thinking of other ways to like move that forward.
Yeah. I
And
think you
then,
could push that. Like, I know you
yeah,
can push that, but like, I love when people create something that they need, but then it also like everyone else needs it too. Like,
right.
we're all having files literally everywhere. And it would be
Everywhere.
so easy to just like, not even Instagram, you can do that. Like, Instagram is like people's new like portfolio and stuff, but like
Mhm.
your resume is not on there. And
No,
like, it's, yeah,
your
yeah,
contact information could be on there, but
right,
it's not everything because they always put links to other stuff, and then that
right.
link can go to something else. It's so chaotic in itself that, the artist can lose, their following because they're not really getting, all of their different links sent out to where they want them to go. It's
Yeah.
just, it can be confusing.
Did you
Um,
patent it? Like, can you patent it yet?
no, not yet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Would no one steal this idea because Arya's and I'm gonna come for you if you steal
Oh
this
yeah,
idea.
we're talking about this. Yeah, it's not out yet. So
Yeah, no, I love that idea. Like, I think that really could help out a lot of people, a lot of artists, because sometimes artists were not the most like organized
organized?
people,
No, I'm
which
not.
is I'm not, which is fine. But having tools to help us along the way is
Yeah,
so helpful. Um, do you want to do more of that, like in the future?
I think so. I think
Yeah,
I want to continue with that because it would not, like, again, like you said, it's not just helping me, like it would help out so many people. And I think, I mean, if we're going to talk about money here, what gets us money? Stuff people need. So,
right. Yeah,
going off of that can really help out, you know, others. And then they can also like go and help me out if this becomes something big. Like I'm just
yeah,
like speaking far into the future right now.
yeah,
But yeah, it's still like something I want to continue. Definitely with classes starting up though, things have been shifting a lot in my head, not
yeah.
as much time. So definitely still keeping it in mind, but I still wish I had more time.
Yeah.
But
You'll have more time soon though. Like,
soon.
things will slow down and then you get to like focus on what you really want to focus on. Like,
Right,
and just put it on the
exactly.
back burner, don't forget about it, but just be able to come back to it.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's get into there's so many things we get into. Let's get into how your outputs have changed for creativity. You talked
Yes.
about how, I mean, I know you have multiple mediums that you use, but you started out as a painter, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then from painting, you moved into installation, which we talked about. And then
Yes.
from installation, which you're still doing all these things, but then you started sewing during the pandemic,
Yes.
correct? Do you want to talk
Yes.
about how did that start for you for making clothes? And by the way, Aria doesn't just like make like a skirt or like a t-shirt, whatever. Like, things are crafted with like buttons and like zips and things that are being able to be worn. And people like, if you saw it on somebody, you'd be like it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, We've done a shoot for the clothes, which I'm just gonna tease because it's not up yet. So,
It's not up yet.
but so we've done some collaborations with it. But can you talk about why clothes?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, this idea is a funny idea because it was happening during the pandemic. So, um, I think the real I think pusher for this like kind of creative outlook was because during the pandemic I couldn't go shopping. I
Yeah.
couldn't go out and I couldn't like buy new clothes that I really wanted. And so I was constantly complaining to my mom about it. I was like, I can't go anywhere. And she was like, Aria, enough. Why don't you just make it? And she was already like talking about how she was interested in it as well. So she was like, you know what, let's just do it together. Like, let's have fun. And like, so I was gifted a sewing machine like a long time ago, but it wasn't like a great sewing machine. It was like those beginner sewing machines that you get like just to play around, make like a pillow or something.
Yeah.
Nothing like super intricate or crafted, like just generic. So I like started off with that and just like created some like little patterns with like the fabrics, seeing what I liked and what I didn't like. But then I was like, yeah, you know what? I really like this. And my mom was playing around with it too. Like this was kind of like a partner thing that we were like doing because we were both bored.
Yeah.
So we
Why
were both,
not?
yeah, like we were both like having fun with it. And my mom was like, you know what? I might buy like a nice machine. And I was like, what? So she bought like this really nice machine and I was like, this is amazing. So then the following year, when we did the shoot, there were like a lot of different, things that were created with this new machine. And it
Yeah.
was really fun and something that like I think was more done because again, it was like something that I didn't necessarily need, but felt like I could do because I don't have the resources to go out and do it, like get it myself.
Right.
And also on top of that, when I was like younger, I always had like this vision of having like my own like name on something, like my own brand. I think everyone has like a little dream of something,
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I've always wanted um swimsuits to fit my body correctly as
Mhm.
well if we're going to get into like swimming and
Yeah.
all of that as well. Like that was like one of the like other driving points for this was I wanted to create like swimwear that would just fit me correctly for swimming and just for like leisure wear as well because a lot of clothes are made for a certain body type, which I don't even know what that body type is
Right.
because it's just so ridiculous in my opinion. And having like a line that could be very like, you know, open to like athletic builds that, are moving and stuff, but might be also petite because then, companies get confused. Athletic, then they make things too big, or they might make things too thick or too thin. All of these different things like I took into consideration. So like I definitely thought about that as well. And that was another driving point for me. It was because I wanted to like wear these things, you know, for going out and doing things that I like to do as well.
Yeah.
So that was why, I continued with it.
That's so cool. And I think the silver lining of the pandemic was like we got to do things that we never like knew we wanted to do or like things that we had stored up that we could do. And I think that was such a fun thing to see everyone do while like the world was going through an awful time. So I think that like coming out of that was really cool to see like it was cool to see your endeavors and how you like creatively evolve. I think is really exciting because
Yeah.
you go from like 2D to 3D with the installations and then your clothes and then you're going to like the internet and like you're going to technology. So you're
Yeah. I'm kind of all over the place. It's fun.
yeah, I love it. It keeps me on my toes. I'm like, what is Audrey
Yeah.
gonna do next? Which is super exciting.
Yeah. You're always like checking in. You're like, hey, so what's new?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm like, what are you doing next? Because I know it's something different and I know I'm gonna love it.
yeah.
So let's jump into the Smithsonian really quick. Aria just got this. Is internship the right title for it?
So it's an advanced level programming internship for the fall and the spring with the Smithsonian, the American Art Museum.
So cool. Yeah, that's a much better title than I was gonna give it. Than I remembered. But so Aria just got this awesome opportunity and I want to talk about it because let's dive into to what it's going to mean for you and like what you're going to do with it, and how it kind of utilizes your degree and your skills.
Yeah. So, like James said, I got this amazing opportunity. I'm very thankful. Didn't think I was actually going to get it, just kind of went for it. And I think that's like one of the best like forms of advice I would give to anyone is to just go for it because you don't know what is in store for you or what like someone else is looking for in a position or a job. They might just are looking for, the exact person like you, and you wouldn't know unless you applied for it or went for it. But anyway, I saw this opportunity that actually combined both studio art and computer science together. And so what I'm doing for this position that's coming up in September is data visualization, which is basically combining both the data side of like the web and for research within like the artist world and the like visualization of that. So like algorithmic art, I guess is how you would want to put it.
Cool.
And other pieces that artists would use more for like the data realm or the digitized I guess community. So that's
So
what
is
I'm
it
going to
like
be.
AI? Sorry, really quick interjection. Is it AI or is it like code based?
It's AI. So it's
Well,
code
okay.
and yeah, there's some coding there, but
Okay.
I'm definitely going to be doing more AI work with that. But it's definitely very exciting. And I think that because I have my orientation like whole, welcoming thing September 9th, but
Oh wow. Okay. So you haven't even had that yet. So you're
I'm like just going off of what would, I know
yeah.
about it. I haven't even, talked to everyone about this yet. So
Yeah.
it's like still up in the air, but I'm specifically doing the data visualization part and there are so many different sections. So I'm in this section and basically what happened was I applied for the role and a lot of other people applied for like the role in itself, like the Smithsonian American Art Museum. But what they do is they look at your skills and they look at your, I guess, interests, and then they see where you would best fit within their program.
Oh, cool.
So it was like a very interesting placement and like experience because I've never really experienced that before. It's more like you just go in and you just, apply for something specifically. But um for me it was like more they like sought out what I could give them or like bring to the table for them, which is really cool.
Yeah, and
Um
very different than it usually is, which I think
very
would
different.
benefit people better, like taking the
I
time
feel
to
like we should do that more. I don't know
yeah,
why people aren't doing that because it honestly is more work on their end,
right.
but that's what companies should be doing
Yeah.
or, organizations or different places. They should be really taking the time out to see what others can offer because then I feel like more people would be experimenting with their interests instead of just
Yeah,
going into
pigeonholing.
one little cube.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. Okay, I'm gonna look into that more with this Smithsonian.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you're gonna be data visualizing. Do you that's just so exciting. The AI space. Have you gotten into AI art yet? Have you seen any AI art?
I have seen some AI art, especially
So
like
cool.
when I'm like just perusing Instagram, like I have seen some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Like it is insane. There's like this
Yeah.
one guy, I forgot the name, but like he would create like these super cool, like intricate like art, like I don't even know what
Like
they were
textures and stuff?
textures and stuff, but like it was seen like on the wall. But like it was kind of like a coding thing.
I think
So
I know who you're talking about.
do
I
you
think
know
I
who I'm
follow
talking
him.
about?
It's like there's like he does so many of them, but it's like a sea of like
See,
moving.
yes.
Like it looks like and it either looks like a sea or like a creature that's like moving and he does AI. I
And
think
like
I know. Yeah.
breathing. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? Yes,
It's
yes.
crazy.
And I like actually saw him like through like this thing that I was thinking about applying for that was like happening in Miami.
Oh cool.
I might apply for it like once I have more art done, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um he was there. Like he had some stuff
Whoa.
up and that's how like I found out about him. And he was selling some stuff for like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean,
And that's a space that you can get some money in. Like
like
for sure.
money.
Yeah. That's so funny. All right. So right before we jump right back into the podcast, just kind of to preface this, Aria wanted to talk about more about her project that she's working on as her senior show. And this is her kind of explaining the message behind it and what she wants to portray. So I just wanted to give that a little bit of a backstory before we dive back in. You want to tell me about your theme more and like why you're kind of diving into that?
Yeah, so my theme is like really just commenting and I guess expressing like my experience as a Black female in the swimming community, a predominantly white swimming community, and also just like a predominantly white institution as well, and how that's like shaped me over the years. And also like I've kind of experienced this all of my life, but it's really in the forefront right now, especially for the reasons of like me being the only Black swimmer on the swim team, and it's been like that for a while. And I just wanted to like really shed some light on that and how a lot of people don't really see or understand it until
Yeah.
it's brought to their attention. So yeah, I mean, I really do appreciate how I have this great opportunity to swim on a university swim team, but I'm just gonna say, like, including my coach, don't really take the time out to really recruit
Hmm.
others besides those that look like, themselves. And I think that's very problematic. And I think that's what's added to this continuation of not having anything diverse within, the swimming community and institutions as well. I think that people
Right.
become very comfortable and don't want to talk about uncomfortable situations or problems, and instead like to throw out diversity, inclusion, equity, and inclusion stuff at you and think that it's, solving the problem and kind of just putting a band-aid over, voices that really need to be heard. And I think that's why I really want to, you know, drive this more and like bring this out, to the public and to the community, just so that people can see that, yes, this is, people can admit all they want that, yes, this is an issue and I see that, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
but don't really take the time out to think about why it might be an issue. And that's why I want to create something. And maybe it might be uncomfortable to some people, but that's kind of the point. I want others to really see what maybe I'm seeing, or maybe see something else, and it bring out a different type of emotion with them. And maybe they can see how, they've contributed or not have contributed to something.
Yeah.
So I think that that is, where I'm going with this, and I really want to continue. And even though I'm very thankful for what Brandeis has given me, I think that, every university along with Brandeis has a lot more, growing that they need to do, because something that also comes with being in such a rigorous institution, is that there are less people of color in them as well. And I
Right.
think, I'm not going to generalize, but I think that's just something that, a lot of people do notice and see. And I want to, shed some light on that as well. And that might be uncomfortable to a certain group of people, but it's the truth. And I want to show how that has shaped me as well.
Yeah. And also what you experience isn't wrong. Like
Yeah.
just like your experience is your own and you've lived it and no one can tell you that like it's wrong or that it didn't happen. And I think
Yeah.
especially with for swimming and higher education are both two things that are very steeped in institutional racism. Like
Yes.
swimming has
There's a whole history with swimming in Black
history. Yeah,
community.
yeah. Swimming and pools are like one of the biggest in the research that I've done, some like the biggest segregated places on
Oh, yes,
in
yes.
the history. Like what we learn about is like pools and water fountains and schools. Like literally, like there's obviously more, but kind of the first things that were taught, at least I was taught as a white person growing up in America, but then also
Yeah.
institutions. So like these things are super deeply rooted in institutional racism, and I think it's so important that you are talking about it. And I think you're going to create some great work because it needs to be talked about,
Yeah.
and especially swimming. It's wild, like you just said, like you're the only Black woman on the team. How many people are on the team? Do you know?
About 45.
Okay, that's a lot of people.
And like I was, I guess, grateful to like have one other um Black person on the team for 2 years, that I was swimming on the Brandeis swim team. So from
Okay.
freshman year to sophomore year, but then he graduated, and like we had like a heart to heart conversation about how like, you know he was just so happy to see me. He like felt like, oh my gosh, I actually have someone who has my back on the
Yeah.
team, who really can understand like what I'm going through, or like I can just talk to and we would just know. And we wouldn't have to really explain anything to each other. We would just know. And I think that's something else that I think not only me, but a lot of other people in the Black community experience. Not feeling like they have someone supportive that they can connect with and talk to about their own situations or issues.
Yeah. And having that supportive community not there, especially in something that you love. Like
I know.
you love swimming and that you've grown up swimming, and that that's really tough that you don't feel that way, and because the spaces have been so like that's yeah, I just think that your work is going to be really impressive and really great to have.
Thank you.
um and that people really need to work harder to like be more, I don't even know, like people need to work harder to look past their own biases and
Yeah.
have their own research. And there's yeah, it's just it's wild to me that's 2022, and the
Still,
the diversity level is crazy, like,
I
and
know.
the equity levels are not there. So but I think your work's going to be really really great, and I think a lot of people are going to connect with it.
Thank you.
Coming back for another James editing note here. Aria had class to go to, and I, of course, was not paying attention. So we had to stop very abruptly. So this is kind of the exit of the interview and of the podcast. Thank you so much, Aria, for being on the Creatives.
Of
So great
course.
to talk to you. Do you want to say any last words, any last advice that you want to give people?
Just be yourself and don't be afraid to be yourself and don't be afraid to speak out. I think that that was one thing that I still need to work on, but have really had some trouble with over the years, like especially with those who don't really support me. But don't feel like you're alone. You will always have someone there that does agree with you or does support you. So just go for it. Be
That's
yourself. Yeah.
perfect. Great advice. Where can people find you if you want people to follow you
Oh,
or your
yes.
art?
You know what? Why don't you put in like the post or
Yeah,
something,
I'll put
my
in the link.
Instagram,
Yep,
the link, my Instagram.
perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been the Creatives. Everyone, say bye. Bye.
Bye.